What's up YouTube, welcome back to another video on my channel Skotrix, and today as you can see we are back on NBA 2K21, but not actually on the game. Again today we are on this chart here where I'm going to be breaking down badges in NBA 2K21. Now I already did the best finishing, shooting, playmaking, and defense badges all in specific videos, but in today's video I'm going to be breaking down every single badge in the game in every category. And if you guys already saw my videos breaking down the badges for each specific category, make sure you still stay and watch this video. I did move a few things around based off the feedback that I got from the last few videos, so make sure you stay tuned, make sure you still watch this one. It'll have some new information and it should help you guys out, but it is going to be a really long video, so make sure you grab your popcorn, hit that like button, and get ready because this is going to be a long one. But without any further ado, let's get right into it here. Alright, so first off we got Acrobat. We're going to be going in alphabetical order here. So first, Acrobat. I'm going to put Acrobat in the B category. This is a good badge. Like I said in the finishing video, this is a good badge, but it's not an essential finishing badge. It's really between the B and the C category. You don't need Acrobat unless you are a finishing build and you have at least, I would say, maybe like 18 to 20 finishing badges or more. Then I would recommend definitely getting Acrobat on. But if you don't have that many, don't worry about putting it on. Acrobat is also good for every position and every build. And next up we got Ankle Breaker. I put this one in the C category last time because I said the jury was still out on it to see if it was a good badge or not. This time it's going all the way down to the E category. As far as I could tell, this isn't a good badge this year, but there's still hope. They might buff this badge. They might also buff the Playmaking Takeover. Hopefully they do because they both seem pretty useless right now. But you never know. We could see a buff to the Playmaking Takeover and the Ankle Breaker badge, so make sure you be on the lookout to see if that happens. If you're watching this video a few weeks or a few months after it comes out, there may have been a buff to this badge, but as of right now, it's pretty much useless. And next up, we got Back Down Punisher. I'm going to put Back Down Punisher also in the E category. Some people like this badge. Seems pretty pointless to me. You shouldn't have any problem backing down smaller or weaker opponents if you're a big man. And if you're a big man trying to back down another big man, it seems pretty useless because I don't really recommend big men backing down other big men unless you're like a 7'3" post scorer and that's all you do. That's the only situation where I would recommend Back Down Punisher because you're probably going to have like 30 finishing badges anyways. But if you're not a 7'3" post scorer, which I know most of you guys probably are not, then I wouldn't recommend Back Down Punisher under any circumstances. You really don't need it. Next up, we got Bailout. Bailout's going to go in the C category. Still a decent badge, but you don't really need it this year. It's really between the C and the D category. It's not a necessary badge. They made it a lot easier to make bailout passes without the bailout badge. Even though a lot of the times the passes aren't caught, sometimes they just like bounce off your hand or your arm and then they end up being a turnover anyways. But it's not like last year where if you try to throw a bailout pass without bailout, you're basically guaranteed to get a turnover. The ball is just going straight out of bounds. They fixed it a little bit, so bailout's not really an essential badge anymore. Like I said, really in between the C and the D category. I would only recommend it if you have enough playmaking badges to get it. Like maybe you have 15 to 20 playmaking badges, then I would recommend looking into bailout. But if you do get it, you probably only need it on bronze or silver. But next up we have Box. I'm going to put Box into the D category. You really don't need this badge this year. The only time people will be able to get around your box outs if you have good positioning is if they have the glass cleaning takeover. So if you want to put Box on, you can. It'll help you against people who have glass cleaning takeover because I'm sure you guys have noticed sometimes when somebody has the glass take, they can get right by your box out. But unless they have that, Box is pretty much useless. If you have good positioning, you can get 99% of rebounds. Even if your opponent has glass take, you can get like 80 to 90% of rebounds. It all comes down to positioning. So like positioning is 90% of the battle and having Box is like 10% of the battle. So you really don't need it. But if you want to get it, you can. Next up we have Break Starter. I'm also going to put Break Starter in the D category. Pretty unnecessary badge. Similar to Bailout, it's not hard to make Break Starter passes. Even if you have a low pass accuracy, you're going to be able to make them. Even if they're not completed cleanly, the player will probably hit it out of the air and grab it or something. But if you really don't need Break Starter, and if you're a big man with enough playmaking badges to even invest in Break Starter, then you probably have those playmaking badges because your pass accuracy is high. And if your pass accuracy is high, you won't need Break Starter in the first place. Next up, Brick Wall. Brick Wall goes in the A category. It's a really good badge. Setting screens is not as much of the meta this year, like I said in my last video, but it is still a meta technique. You see a lot of people just screen hiding still, so it is a good badge if you set a lot of screens. If you don't set a lot of screens, obviously don't worry about it. But if you're setting screens, I recommend getting Brick Wall on Hall of Fame for sure, or if you can only get it onto gold, get it onto gold. Next up, Catch and Shoot. Catch and Shoot goes in the B category. This is a really good badge for any build that is not the primary ball handler. Basically an essential shooting badge for any build that is not the primary ball handler. And even if you are a primary ball handler, you could consider getting Catch and Shoot on silver. It's really good on silver. But if you're something like an off-ball 3-and-D wing or something, or you're a shooting center, get Catch and Shoot on Hall of Fame. It's a really important badge and you need it. You really do. So make sure you invest in that. Next up, we got Chase Down Artist. I'm going to put Chase Down Artist into the A category. It really is between the B and the A category here. But the reason I'm putting it into the A category is because it seems to trigger a lot of block animations this year. Having Chase Down Artist, especially if you can get down to Hall of Fame or Gold, it seems to trigger a lot of extra block animations. So you should probably invest in Chase Down Artist if you're a lockdown build and you have enough defense badges to do it. If you're not a lockdown build and you're just a regular guard or a big man build that doesn't have defense in the pie chart, you should still probably invest in Chase Down Artist either on bronze or silver as long as you have at least 6 or 7 defense badges. The only way I would not recommend Chase Down Artist is if you're a guard that put no attributes into block at all. There's a lot better badges for you to put your badge points into if you're a guard that has like maybe a 30 block or less than 30 block, because you're not going to get blocks with Chase Down anyway, so I don't recommend it. But next up, we got a badge that I do recommend for every single guard build, and that's Clamps. It goes in the S category. Clamps is an amazing badge. Some people are saying it's not as good as last year. It's probably not quite as good as last year, but it is still a necessary badge for any guard build. You should get Clamps as high as you could possibly have it, and even if you're a big man, I recommend investing in bronze Clamps because it helps you guard builds like Paint Beasts or Glass Cleaning finishers that are trying to drive to the rim. You could just put some contact on them like halfway in between the 3-point line and the rim, and a lot of the times it'll make them pick up the ball. They'll get like an animation where it looks like they're about to lose the ball, and then they'll pick it up. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, so I recommend putting Clamps on bronze even for big man builds, as long as you have defense as part of your pie chart and you have enough badges to get it. But for guards, super essential badge. Next up, Clutch Shooter. Clutch Shooter is going to go into the D category. There's so many more important shooting badges this year. I really don't know why you would put Clutch Shooter on unless you have over 20 shooting badges and you really think that Clutch Shooter is a good investment for you. You know, maybe you're a terrible shooter in the clutch and you really need to pick up your game, you need the boost. But otherwise, there's a lot of shooting badges that I would recommend over Clutch Shooter for basically any build. It's really between the D and the E category. Not a very good shooting badge. Well, it is an okay shooting badge, but there's a lot of better ones, so it has to be lower here. But anyways, next up we have a good finishing badge. That's going to be Consistent Finisher. I'm going to put this one into the A category, especially right now in the game, because a lot of people really don't know their releases on layups that well. If you do know your layup release, this might not be the best badge for you, but most people really don't. And even if you do really well, you know, obviously you don't green every single layup, you don't get a perfect release on every single layup. So this badge will still help you on every single one that you miss time, even a little bit. So I recommend investing in Consistent Finisher for any slashing build, no matter what position you are, or really whatever archetype you have. If you want to be able to finish at the rim at all, Consistent Finisher is basically a necessity. It's not the best finishing badge, but it's up there, definitely top 5, maybe even top 3. Next up we have arguably the best finishing badge. That's going to be Contact Finisher. If you have contact dunks, you need Contact Finisher, period. If you don't have contact dunks and you have a lot of finishing badges, you could still consider investing in Contact Finisher. It still is a really good badge. Not a lot to say about it. Really good badge. S tier badge for sure. Next up, Corner Specialist. I'm going to put Corner Specialist into the B category. This badge could also even get pushed up into the A category. I recommend getting Corner Specialist on silver for any shooting build, whether you're a shooting lockdown, a play shot, a shooting big man. No matter what kind of shooting build you have, Corner Specialist, super important badge. Make sure you got it on. Again, not a lot to say about that. Get it on silver and you'll be good. Next up, we got another finishing badge that's okay, and that's Cross Key Score. I'm going to put it into the C category. It really could even go into the D category, but it's not a terrible badge. So I recommend Cross Key Score for any build that has at least 20 finishing badges, especially big man build. If you're a guard, not as important, but if you're a big man build, Cross Key Score is super important, and I recommend just putting it on bronze. Just put it on bronze. You'll notice a little bit of a difference. You know, obviously it's not going to make a huge difference putting this badge on bronze. It's not going to make you finish at the rim 20 times more consistently, but it will help you out a little bit. It'll give you a small boost, and that's really all you could ask for one bronze badge on a finishing build. So that's where I recommend getting Cross Key Score. Put it on bronze for any finishing build, especially a big man finishing build. But next up we got another good shooting badge, and that's going to be Deadeye. Deadeye is another one that's right in between the A and the B category here, but I'm going to slide it down to the B category because I think it does definitely go in the same ranks as Corner Specialist and Catch and Shoot. It is a really good badge. It's not really a super necessity shooting badge, you know, it's not quite as good as Corner Specialist. Like I said, Corner Specialist is really in between B and A, and it is about as good as Catch and Shoot. So I would recommend Deadeye for any build that has about 12 or so shooting badges. I like it best on gold, but it's also good on Hall of Fame. So if you have at least like 20 shooting badges, I would recommend getting it onto Hall of Fame. If you have like 12 to 15, I recommend putting it on gold. Obviously it helps with any shot that a defender is closing out on while you shoot it. So that's a pretty good percentage of the shots that most people take in this game. So I recommend putting Deadeye on as long as you can afford it, like I said. But next up, we got Deep Fades. I'm going to put deep fades into the D category. The reason I'm putting it into the D category, it's a good badge for builds that shoot post fades a lot, but there's not many of those builds in this game. If you are a build that just shoots post fades, get deep fades on Hall of Fame obviously, but if you're not, ignore this badge. It's not important. Next up we got deep hooks. I'm going to put deep hooks into the C category. Exact same thing as deep fades. The reason I'm putting it a little bit higher is because post hooks seem to be a little bit more overpowered in this game than deep fades. And there's also a lot more builds that use hook shots in their arsenal of moves than there is builds that use post fades. And if you are a build that use post hooks, make sure you get this badge on. It's a good badge. But again, I'm not going to rank it any higher because most builds don't need this badge at all. But next up we got defensive leader. I'm going to put defensive leader into the E category. You really don't need this badge unless maybe you're playing like a 5v5 game mode or something. Otherwise, I don't recommend getting defensive leader. All it does is basically floor general for defensive builds, so it gives +1 defensive attributes to all of your teammates on the floor for every tier that you have. So if you have it on bronze, it gives +1, silver +2, gold 3, and Hall of Fame it gives +4. So if you think about the value you're getting back for investing 4 badge points into this badge, it's really not that good in a 3v3 game mode, and I don't recommend it. 5v5 it might be worth it if you have like 30 defense badges, but otherwise don't recommend that for any build. Next up, difficult shots. This is an A category badge because if you have a decent mid-range, like at least 80, 85, then I definitely recommend investing in difficult shots. This badge might get nerfed though. I'm just going to put a warning out right now. Just like ankle breaker might get buffed, difficult shots might get nerfed because last year difficult shots was really OP for the first week or 2 of the game, and then they nerfed it, so that might happen again this year. They might nerf leaning shots, and if they do, this badge will probably drop quite a bit in the ranks. But right now, A category badge, really essential for any build that shoots a lot off the dribble. Really essential. One of the first badges you should put on. Next up, we got another A category badge. That's going to be Dimer. Dimer's a really good badge if you're playing with more shooters. We're going to have Floor General coming up later. Floor General I would recommend a little bit over Dimer, but Dimer is still an essential badge. If you're playing with shooters on the court and you're the primary ball handler, you need Dimer. Also, if you're a center that has a lot of playmaking badges and you have playmaking in your build, get Dimer, but I know most centers don't have playmaking in their pie chart, so that's not going to apply to them. But for guards, this is a super essential badge, one of the best playmaking badges, and you basically need to put it on. Next up we have Downhill. I'm going to put Downhill into the C category. A lot of people don't like this badge. I disagree. I think it's good in specific situations, and that specific situation is for glass cleaning finishers, paint beasts, and interior finishers. Downhill is an amazing playmaking badge, and I 100% recommend it. It's going to help you run the fast break so much more efficiently, and you're going to notice you're moving a lot faster when you're running down the floor. If you're like a glass clean finisher or paint beast, like I said, essential playmaking badge. Make sure you get Downhill on. Otherwise, probably not the most important badge for basically every other build. But next up we got Dream Shake, and here we go. We finally have the first F tier category badge right here. That's Dream Shake. This badge, is not really much to say about it. If you're a post scorer and you have a lot of playmaking badges and you have nothing else to invest in, might as well put this badge on. Otherwise, completely useless. Don't recommend under any circumstances. Dream Shake, pretty useless badge if I'm being honest. So I'm gonna put in the F category right there. Next up we got Drop Stepper. This one, kind of the same thing. It's going pretty low. It's going in the E category. Drop Stepper is not a very good badge unless you obviously drop step players a lot. So you really should know if you need this badge. If you find yourself doing drop steps a lot, Drop Stepper is probably a good badge for you if you can afford to invest in it. If you don't find yourself drop stepping a lot, it's basically useless. So I don't recommend it for 99% of builds because I see like 99% of people never do drop steps. So basically a useless badge, but I'm putting it in E instead of F because for those 1% of people, it might be a good badge. Next up, Fancy Footwork. This badge is going in the C category. Obviously, it got nerfed pretty badly. Well, the badge actually didn't get nerfed, but hop steps is what got nerfed pretty badly in this game. So Fancy Footwork went from being an amazing finishing badge to being a mediocre finishing badge that I recommend for builds that have at least 20 finishing badges, especially big man builds. Not as essential for guard builds. There's better badges to go with on most guard builds, I think, unless you got 30 finishing badges or something. But if you have any less than that, this is not an essential badge for any guard build. But for big men, get it on silver, get it on gold, see if it works good for you, maybe even Hall of Fame. And if you find yourself using those Fancy Footwork moves a lot, and you think the badge is helping out, good. If not, you could just take it off. It's not really an essential badge, but it is a pretty solid badge for slashers. Next up, we have another F category badge, and that's going to be Fast Break Finisher. Pretty useless badge if I'm being honest. I don't really see why you would put this badge on. There's so many better finishing badges that make it a lot easier to finish at the rim that if you don't have, you're gonna have a tougher time finishing at the rim. So I don't know why you would waste attribute points on this in exchange for not having other finishing badges. But yeah, basically a useless badge. Don't recommend fast break finisher under any circumstances. Now next up we have flashy passer. I'm gonna put flashy passer into the D category. This isn't a terrible badge, but it's just not essential. There's so many better playmaking badges, and basically I'll explain what this badge does really quickly so people can decide for themselves if they want to put it on. If you do a flashy pass to your teammate and they make the shot or they score off of the pass, it will give them a lot of takeover, a lot more than they would get without getting a pass from this badge, without getting a flashy pass from this badge. So it is an okay badge, but unless you're like a pure playmaker, I really don't see the point. There's so many better badges to help out your teammates like Dimer and Floor General that are better investments than flashy passer. But again, you know what it does. It's up to you if you want to put it on. Next up we got flexible release. I'm going to put flexible release into the B category. Lots of shooting badges in the B category here. This is not an essential badge, but if you don't know your jump shot release, put it on. Put it on to Gold or Hall of Fame. It'll help you make a lot more shots that are outside of the green window, so it is a solid badge if you don't know your release. If you do know your release, don't worry about having this badge. There's probably better badges for you to invest in and shooting. Now right here, we're moving on to Floor General. I'm going to put Floor General into the A category. This is a really good badge. I recommend it over Dimer, and the reason is Floor General will help you for teammates that are either slashing builds or shooting builds, whereas Dimer really only helps for shooting builds. So if you're a guard that has at least maybe 15 playmaking badges, maybe even 12, maybe even 10, I recommend getting this badge onto either Gold or Hall of Fame or whatever you can get it onto. It basically does the same thing the defensive leader does, but instead of helping out your defense attributes for your teammate, it helps out all of your offensive attributes in finishing, shooting, and playmaking. So really good badge. I recommend at least one person on the floor has this badge as high as possible at all times. And next up we have another good finishing badge for guards, and that's going to be Giant Slayer. This is also an okay badge for finishing big men, but not as good. It really only helps if the person that you're trying to score over has like a 3 or 4 inch height advantage on you. So that's why I recommend it for guards, especially slashers that are like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". If you're trying to dunk over big men a lot or score over big men in the paint with slashing moves, Giant Slayer is essential. Really good badge. But if you got a really tall build like 6'10", 6'11", probably not as essential of a badge. And also if you're not a slasher but you have like, let's say 6 or 7 finishing badges, I wouldn't worry about going into this one. There's a lot of better badges that you can invest in. But yeah, that's Giant Slayer. Now let's go into Green Machine. I'm going to put Green Machine into the C category. I know a lot of people like this badge, but unless you're shooting at least, I would say 4 or 5 shots per game and you're greening a lot, like 75% of your shots, you don't need Green Machine. It's really not helpful. If you're only shooting a couple times per game, don't waste badge attributes in Green Machine because you need to make 2 greens just to activate it, and if you miss a green, it's gone. So just think about it for a second. Let's say you're shooting 4 times per game. You would have to make your first 2 shots, so the badge does nothing to help you on half of your shots the first half. And not only would you have to make those shots, you would have to green both of them for the badge to help you on the second 2 shots. But if you miss one of those second 2 shots, or even one of those first 2 shots, the badge basically does nothing for you all game. So it's really not a good shooting badge unless you're a guard that has at least, I would say, 20 shooting badges and you shoot at least like 6 or 7 times per game and you're greening consistently. Otherwise, don't worry about Green Machine. It's not as essential as people will have you think, especially these super tryhard comp players like YouTubers and streamers. A lot of them will tell you, oh, Green Machine's super essential. For the average player, it's really not. So don't worry about it unless you're shooting a lot. Next up, we got another S category badge. That's Handles for Days. This is an amazing badge, amazing badge. Really essential for any build that dribbles at all. If you don't have Handles for Days, you're basically out of stamina instantly. It's super annoying and super hard to do anything without this badge. So I recommend getting Handles for Days on Hall of Fame, or if you can only get it to Gold, get it to Gold as soon as possible for any build that dribbles at all. Super important badge. And next up we have Heart Crusher. Now this is one of the badges that I'm really going to change from when I ranked my defensive badges. I'm going to put Heart Crusher up into the B category, but I could also put it into the A category. I didn't realize how good this badge was in my first defensive badge video, and a lot of people in the comments put me onto it, and this is a really good badge. It could go into the A category. I'm going to put it into the B category. I'll tell you why in a second here. But basically what this badge does is if you get a steal or a block or anything that would be considered a defensive highlight play, it will take away so much takeover and so much, I call it, momentum from the opposing team's players. So you can make them cold really quickly. You could take away any sort of momentum they have towards a hot streak. And it's a really good badge. The reason I'm not putting it into the A category is because I really only recommend it for builds that have defense in their pie chart, or that are really good lockdowns. Because think about it, if you don't get a steal or block in a game and you have this badge equipped, it's basically useless, so I don't really recommend it for any guard builds unless you're a lockdown. But big man builds, as long as you have defense in your pie chart, really good badge. Really, it could be an A category badge, and if you're playing a 5v5 game mode, make sure somebody on the court has Heart Crusher. So next we're going on to Hot Start, sorry. I'm going to put Hot Start into the D category, a little bit worse than Green Machine, just because if you miss a shot, the bonus for this badge is completely gone. I'll just explain this badge also really quickly in case you guys don't know. Basically, if you make your first shot, every other shot after that in a game has a boost to go in, similar to how like Green Machine would work or Volume Shooter would work. But after you miss a shot in a game, this badge does nothing for the rest of the game. So not really a badge that I would recommend. There's so many better shooting badges that you could put on. And right here is one of them. That's going to be Hot Start. I'm going to put this in the S category just because the S category is not that full. It could go in the A category as well, but if you do have hot zones in your shooting build, this is an essential badge. You need it, you really do. If you don't have hot zones, don't worry about this badge, it's not important. It won't give you any boost if you don't have hot zones or if you're not shooting in zones where you have hot zones. But if you do, super important badge, make sure you get it on if you have hot zones. But next up here, we got Ice and Veins. This is going straight into the F category. If you play a mode where you do shoot free throws, there are specific situations where you could consider investing in this badge. I'm sure if you do play 5v5 game modes, you know if you need this badge or not. But if you're just playing Park or My Career or something, really not that important. It helps with clutch free throws, so it doesn't even help with all free throws. It helps with clutch free throws. It's basically like Clutch Shooter, but only for free throws instead of for shots. It's not a very good badge, even for game modes where you do use free throws. But maybe if you only have like a 50 free throw and you have like one shooting badge, you might want to invest into Ice and Veins if you're playing 5v5 game modes. But otherwise I wouldn't recommend it. It really isn't a very good badge. But next up we have a badge that is really good, and that's Interceptor. This badge is going to go into the A category. Amazing badge for every single build, every single archetype, every single position, whatever you got. Interceptor is an amazing badge. It helps you get passing lane steals. It really does help this year. Even if you just put it on bronze, and obviously every tier that you go higher than that, it helps more. But it's pretty hard to get passing lane steals without Interceptor this year, so I recommend getting it on for basically every single build. Unless maybe you only have like 1 or 2 defense badges, but most builds don't. If you have anything like over 5 defense badges, try and invest in Interceptor, at least to bronze. Really good badge. And here's another good defense badge that a lot of people disagreed with how I ranked this one in my last defensive badge video. But I'm going to put it in the S tier again, and I'll explain why here. Intimidator got a nerf in this game compared to how it was last year. It's not as good, but it's still so good. It was probably the best badge in the game last year, and it's not the best badge in the game this year, but it is still one of the best, even with the nerf. Some people say it does nothing. I mean, try taking it off and playing without it. If you put it up slowly, you maybe went from not having it up to bronze, up to silver, up to gold, up to Hall of Fame. You didn't just put it from bronze to Hall of Fame at once. You might not have noticed the effects because it was taking time to build up, but it is an essential badge. If you take it off, you're going to notice you're getting scored on a lot more than if you just have it on Hall of Fame or gold or whatever you can get it on. So I recommend Intimidator for really any build, any position. Put it on pretty much as high as you can get it. It really is one of the best defensive badges in the game, regardless of what people will have you think. And next up is another badge that was in my defense video that has a lot of controversy, but I'm not going to change where I ranked it. That's Lightning Reflexes, still an F category badge, and I'll tell you why. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this as well, but Lightning Reflexes, it doesn't help. I feel like people might be getting placeboed by it or something, I'm not sure. It doesn't help. People think it makes them turn faster. It doesn't. I tried it. I put it on gold on my play shot. It does nothing. It's no different than not having it on at all. All Lightning Reflexes apparently does is help you with the read and react system where it shows you where people are going to go next, but it really doesn't even help with that. It's basically a useless defense badge. I don't recommend people putting it on at all. But anyways, next up we have Lob City Passer. This is a D category badge, not really one that you need to invest in. As long as you have a decent pass accuracy, you really should not need Lob City Passer. Like I said in my Playmaking badges video, if your lobs are not being completed to the person who you're throwing them to, it's more likely the person that you're throwing them to than it is that you're not throwing good passes. Sometimes it is that you're not throwing good passes, but more often than not, it's that the person who's trying to catch it is not able to get it. So you really shouldn't need Lob City Passer unless you have a ton of playmaking badges, you don't really know what else to put into, and all you do is throw lobs. Then you could invest in this, but otherwise I wouldn't really recommend it. But next up we're going to do Lob City Finisher, which is a slightly better badge. I'm going to put it into the C category. It's a mediocre finishing badge. You probably don't need it unless you're going for lobs a lot and you're having trouble catching them. Then I would recommend investing in Lob City Finisher, but otherwise you could probably leave this badge. You should be able to catch lobs without it as long as you're open and you have other finishing badges as well as your finishing attributes are maxed and good. But next up we got a defense badge that I'm going to rank pretty low. That's Moving Truck. I'm going to put Moving Truck into the E category. Not a very good badge. If you have decent strength, you shouldn't be getting pushed around in the paint. And even if you are, if a player gets you right under the rim, it's not hard to time a jump to be able to counter them from scoring, especially if you have Intimidator on and you got a lot of practice with that type of stuff. Not a lot, but some practice with timing your jumps and how to contest shots in the paint, because it does take a little while to get used to. But once you do, and even before that, you really should not need Moving Truck. People don't back people down too much in this game unless you're going up against a post scorer, which again, not that high of a chance that you're going to be going up against post scorers too much in this game, even though there is a decent amount of them. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Moving Truck, non-essential badge for any big man. You really shouldn't need it. But next up we got a Playmaking badge. That's Needle Threader, and this is a really good badge this year. In between the B and the A category in my opinion. I'm going to put it into the B category, but this could definitely be an A category badge. It is a really good badge. I recommend getting it onto gold if you have at least 20 Playmaking badges, and if you're a big man that has at least 10 or maybe even like 9, I would say. After you get Quick First Step and Unpluckable, I would recommend putting Needle Threader up with the rest of your Playmaking badges if you're a big man, because passes do get stolen quite a bit in this game. You know, there's a lot of lockdowns and they all have Interceptor on Hall of Fame or on gold, and they know to time passing lane steals, so you probably do want to have Needle Threader at least on gold. Counter that, I've put it on gold. I've noticed it helped quite a bit. Obviously people still do get passing lane steals on me from time to time, but not nearly as much as when I did not have the badge at all, or even when I had it on bronze or silver. So get Needle Threader if you can. It's a really good badge. Next up we got Off Ball Pest. This is not a good badge. E category badge. Could even be an F category badge. Basically pretty much useless. Again, people think that it does stuff that it doesn't do. Basically all it does is make people have a harder time moving around when they're standing still and you're guarding them off ball. So that's not a situation that you see a lot. And even if you do see it a lot, it's really not the best badge because it doesn't really provide any tactical advantage in the game. If you find yourself playing off-ball defense on the perimeter a lot, I recommend just putting Interceptor on and playing the passing lanes rather than trying to hold the guy with off-ball Pest. It's a lot better of a badge and a lot better of a technique to use. So off-ball Pest really a pretty useless badge. But next up we have another useless badge. That's going to be Pass Fake Maestro. F category badge. Don't put this one on. Really not a good badge at all. Trust me on that. But next up we got Pick Dodger. Pick Dodger is going to be a B category badge as well. Lots of people say it does nothing this year. It's not going to help you slide through every screen perfectly, but I recommend getting Pick Dodger on silver if you can. If you have at least maybe 10 defense badge points for a guard, or if you're a lockdown defender, get it on Hall of Fame. It will help a bit. Again, it won't help with every single screen because screens are still pretty OP in this game, but it is a good badge and I recommend putting it on for most guard builds. Next up we have Pickpocket. I'm going to put this into the A category just because on-ball steals are still really easy to get in this game. All you got to do is spam steal, and you can get quite a few on-ball steals without even being a lockdown defender. And another thing the Pickpocket does that's really useful is it helps you spam steals without getting called for fouls. So that's really kind of a little OP side perk of having Pickpocket on. It really is a good badge and I recommend it for most guard builds. If you can get it, if you can afford it. If you can't, that's okay, but it is a good badge. And also for big men, it's a good badge. If you're getting back down, you could sometimes press square. I recommend if you're getting back down, you try to pull the chair, but you could also press square and you could sometimes steal the ball more than you could last year. And also for guards, if you drop down into the post when your big man's getting back down with Pickpockets, sometimes you can get steals from the big man, but that's risky because you're obviously going to be leaving your check wide open. But anyways, next up we have Pick and Popper. I'm going to put Pick and Popper into the E category. It could also go into the D category, but this is not the best shooting badge for big men. Obviously it's basically useless for guards, I'll just get that out of the way. But for big men, there's still a lot of better shooting badges. Big men usually don't have enough shooting badges to get like 20, 25. But if you're a stretch, you might want to invest in this. But if you're like a glass lock or any sort of defense and shooting big man or finishing and shooting or like a stretch playmaker or anything, I don't recommend investing in Pick and Popper. There's just so many better shooting badges that you could use. The only way that I really would recommend investing in this is if you're pick and popping basically every time you're on offense. Then it might be worth investing in for you, but I just don't think it's really that good of a badge. So I'm going to put it into the E category. It could maybe be in the D category, but I'm putting it in the E. Next up we have pick and roller. I'm also going to probably, well, I'll put this one in the D category. It's a little bit better than pick and popper, and I think centers use this one, or power forwards or centers, they use this one more than they would use pick or popper. If you're a slashing big man and you're setting screens a lot, you're probably going to be rolling off them just about every time. So if your guard hits you, this badge will help you finish at the rim, but usually if the guard hits you, you're either going to be wide open at the rim or it's going to be a lob. So this badge really is not too important, because if you're wide open or if it's lob, you're probably going to make it anyways with or without this badge. So I'd recommend investing in other badges first, but this badge is okay for situations like that where you find yourself doing that a lot. But next up we have pogo stick. This badge got nerfed really bad this year compared to last year. I'm going to put it in the D category. Even last year, I wasn't a big fan of this badge. I thought it was really overused just because people constantly over jump on the paint. Just because people constantly over jump in the paint on defense, a lot of the times you really don't need to jump. Try your best to stay down in the paint. Obviously, there's going to be situations where you have to jump. Otherwise, you'll get scored on. So you're going to have to understand when those are. But pogo stick this year really isn't even worth the defensive badges. I would really recommend other things like rim protector and intimidator to help you stop people in the paint. So yeah, I don't think that pogo stick is an essential badge this year. But next up we have post move lockdown. This one is also going to go into the E category with moving truck. Similar situation of moving truck, just not a badge that you really need. Not a badge that really gives that good of a boost to you, especially if you're playing against builds that are similar to you and that have similar strength to you. And most big men, you know, most big men have pretty good strength, so you really shouldn't be getting in a situation where people are either just spinning by you or doing whatever. Most of the people who do post spin spams usually do it before they make contact with the defender, so this badge won't help you anyways. I'm sure if you guys were thinking about investing in this badge, you know what I'm talking about with the post spin cheese that people do sometimes. But yeah, this badge really is not that important. I see there's a lot of defensive badges really filling up the E category right here, especially big man defensive badges and finishing badges. But next up, speaking of the post spin cheese, next up we have post spin technician. I'll put this one in the C category. Again, the reason I'm putting in the C category is because if you don't do post spin cheese, it's basically useless. If you do post spin cheese, get this badge on, super essential. I'm sure if you guys are people who are doing post spin cheese, you already have this badge on though. So next up we got pro touch. I'm going to put pro touch into the D category, but this one could go into the C category. Actually, you know what, I will put it up into the C category. It is a good finishing badge, not amazing, it's also not terrible, so I really think it's a badge that you would really know if you need. If you find that you're releasing your layups really well and they're still not going in, invest in pro touch, see if it helps you out, put it as high as you can get it, either gold or hall of fame, as high as you can get it, for either guards or bigs, for any build. But this is a badge that I recommend not really investing in unless you think that you're going to need it. So what I mean by that is I would invest in all the other finishing badges that I have above this first, and if you find that you're still not able to make shots on perfect releases, then try to put this badge on as high as possible. See if it makes a difference. If it doesn't, switch it back, maybe try something new. But if it does, that's good. I just think that this badge isn't really something that you should need for most builds. It's good, but it's not a necessity. That's what I'm trying to say. Hopefully that all made sense. Next up, another F category badge. Basically one of the most useless badges in the game, and that's pump fake maestro. I mean, just no. Don't invest in pump fake maestro, terrible badge. But next up we got put back boss. I'm gonna put back boss into the D category. It could also be a C or even a B category badge if you play with a guard that just misses every single shot they shoot. But usually that's not the situation. Usually big men are only getting maybe like one offensive rebound a game on average. Especially as guards get more badges in the game and start to figure out shooting more. That's going to go down even more. So if you think about it, you get one offensive rebound a game. How often do you put that shot up compared to how often do you pass it out? Let's say you do it half the time. So this badge will maybe help you out on half a shot every game on average, or one shot every 2 games. So again, I just think there's so many better badges that will help you on every finish at the rim that this badge just isn't really something that you could invest in. Not that it's terrible, just that it's not as good as other badges, so I wouldn't invest in it. But next up, another amazing badge, quick first step. S tier badge for sure. Get quick first step if you can on any build that can get it, whether you're a play shot, a slasher, a small forward, whatever you are, well-rounded wing, perimeter lock, whatever you are, or whether you're a big man stretch playmaker, glass cleaning finisher, whatever. Get quick first step, probably the best playmaking badge in the game. Definitely an S tier badge. Next up, another S tier badge, range extender. Amazing badge, super essential for any shooting build this time. Probably the best shooting badge in my opinion. You really want to have range extender if you're a shooter. Super important badge. Next up we got another S category badge. This one's really filling up quick. That's going to be rebound chaser. If you're a big man, you need Rebound Chaser, period. Even if you're a guard, this is probably a badge that you might want to consider investing in. It is really good at guard as long as you have your rebound upgraded and you have at least maybe like 10 to 12 defense badges, but I have outlined some badges for guards that are also really good that you might want to consider investing into instead rather, so might not be an essential badge for guards, but it is good if you can afford it, especially if you're a lockdown guard, then definitely get it. But next up we got another high ranking badge, that's Relentless Finisher. This one's going in the A category. This could also be a B category badge. It is for sure one of the best finishing badges. I recommend getting it for any finishing build, even if you're not a finishing build and you have at least, let's say, 8 to 10 finishing badges at any position, any build. I recommend getting Relentless Finisher for sure. I think it's a top 5 finishing badge, maybe around the ranks of Consistent and behind badges like Contact and Slithery that we're going to have coming up here. So yeah, Relentless, definitely one of the best finishing badges. Invest in it as long as you have enough finishing badges. Really, really good badge. Next up, we got another S category badge. Rim Protector, super essential badge for every single big man build. Same thing as Rebound Chaser, super essential. Make sure you get Rim Protector. Not only does it help you block shots, but it also gives you and your teammates takeover when you're able to block shots. So just a really, really good all-around badge. Definitely one of the best defensive badges, especially for big men. Next up, we got a badge that's fairly useless, and that's going to be Showtime. I'm going to put this one into the F category. Again, it's one of those badges like Fast Break Finisher that I just don't see why you would put this on when there's so many better finishing badges that you would invest in to help you finish at the rim more often. To put a badge like Showtime on over any of those badges just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So F category. But next up right here, we're going to have Slithery Off Ball. This is a very, very interesting badge. And the reason I say that is because it's listed as a shooting badge, but it's basically a useless shooting badge. What it's actually good for is helping big men or other slashers get to the rim for lobs, get around contact. So you know how when you're running to the rim or your teammates running to the rim to catch a lob and they bump somebody on the other team and then the pass just ends up going out of bounds, or they do some sort of fake jump to try to catch it and it's just a turnover. This badge will help the player, the slasher that's going for the lob, get around that contact. So this is a really hard one to rank. I'm going to put in the C category just because it's a really hard one to rank. You guys know what it does. You could decide if it's the badge for you. Obviously, if you're like a pure slasher and you have one shooting badge and you can't shoot anyways, this is what I would recommend putting it into. But if you're a build that can shoot and slash, then it's really up to you if you're willing to give up some other shooting badges to invest in what's basically a slashing badge. So yeah, but next up we have one of the best finishing badges in the entire game, Slithery Finisher. Probably even the best, maybe behind Contact actually, maybe, you know, either one or two. Slithery Finisher is a really, really good badge, and I recommend it for every single finishing build. Also, if you're not a finishing build and you only have one finishing badge, I recommend putting that one finishing badge into Slithery Finisher for sure. The only other one that I would consider would be Consistent, but Slithery is the way I would go. That's the one finishing badge that I have on my play shot, and it helps out a lot. Just on bronze it helps out a lot. But next up, Space Creator right here. I'm going to put Space Creator into the B category. This is a really good dribbling badge. One of the better dribbling badges behind, you know, Handles for Days and Unpluckable that we're going to get to. But it's not an essential dribbling badge. If you want to be an ISO god and you can afford to get this one, then I would recommend probably investing in it because it will help you out with that type of stuff. So for play shots, shot creators, whatever, stuff like that, good badge. Otherwise, it's probably something that you could skip, but it's going in the B category just because it is really good for those type of builds. But next up we got Steady Shooter. Steady Shooter is a F category badge 100%. If there was a category below F, I would put Steady Shooter in that category for sure. Terrible badge. Some people think it's good, it's not. I'll explain really quickly what it does for people who don't know or for people who are confused about what it does. Basically what Steady Shooter does is it makes it more likely for you to make contested shots, which is good, that's good, but it makes it way less likely for you to make wide open shots, which is terrible. I can't even justify why somebody would put this badge on. It really is not a good badge, and I don't recommend putting it on for anybody. Avoid Steady Shooter. Not a good badge. Next up we got Stop and Go. I'm going to put Stop and Go into the E category. I don't think it's a good badge for dribbling at all. I know some people like it, but I really just don't. I think Tight Handles, Space Creator, they're all better for dribbling than Stop and Go, as well as obviously Quick First Step. But the reason I don't put Stop and Go on is because I find it messes with my animations quite a bit, as well as it doesn't help that much, but it messes with my animations. It takes away some animations that I like doing, and it really just isn't a good badge. I don't recommend this for anybody. You know, obviously some people think it's just an amazing badge, but look at all the best players in the world, see if they use this badge, and then come back to me, because I guarantee you that probably every single one of them does not use that badge. So hopefully that should tell you something about stop and go. Really don't recommend it. Next up we got an F category badge. That's teardropper, basically a useless badge unless you do teardrops, which I don't recommend people doing. It's not a very efficient form of trying to score at the rim, so F category badge for teardropper. Don't recommend it for any builds, that's for sure. Next up we got tight handles. I'm going to put tight handles into the B category. Similar to Space Creator, basically the same thing I said for Space Creator applies to tight handles here. But I do like having tight handles on bronze. I find it gives me a little bit of extra ability to do some moves where you can notice the defender reacts a little bit different. They do kind of freeze up a little bit. It's not something that if you put on, you're going to notice huge differences where you just become a dribble god just from putting this badge on bronze. It's very minor things that you'll notice in very specific situations, and you really have to be looking to see this stuff to even notice it. So I do recommend putting tight handles on bronze, but I don't think you need any higher than that. But now we're nearing the end here. We only got about, I think, 6 more probably. Next up we got Tireless Defender. I'm going to put this one into the C category. Good badge. Tireless Defender is a good badge, but usually there's so many more defensive badges for most builds. The only way I would really recommend Tireless Defender is if you're a lockdown, either guard or wing. I don't recommend it for big men builds, and I also don't recommend it for guards that don't have defense in the pie chart, just because there's so much better stuff to invest in over Tireless Defender. So not an essential badge, but it is good for lockdown builds on the perimeter. Next up we got Tireless Shooter. This is an A category badge. Super good badge. Ties in really well with difficult shots for play shots, anything like that. If you're a play shot, you need Tireless Shooter. Super good badge. Super good badge, especially with how tough the stamina is this year. And if you're even got the yellow blinking, which you get once your stamina goes down to like half, it feels like, Tireless Shooter will help you make those shots, as well as obviously when your stamina is in the red. So super good badge, essential for basically any play shot build. If you're a big man build, you're probably not going to be shooting when you're tired, so you don't really need Tireless Shooter. But next up right here we got Trapper. This one's going all the way down to the F category. Trapper's basically useless unless you have your whole team has Trapper. Maybe you're playing a whole team where everybody on the team is lockdowns and you all got Trapper on Hall of Fame, and your plan is just to trap people. And no, I don't even see the point to put this on in any situation. It's basically a useless badge, and I don't recommend it for anyone at all. Next up we have Unpluckable. Unpluckable goes into the S category. I know a lot of people say it doesn't work. Let me explain something to you really quickly. I explained this in my Playmaking badge video, but I'll go over it again quickly here. Basically what Unpluckable does is it helps you prevent people from getting on-ball steals from you where they reach for the ball. So if they press square or square on Xbox, whatever button that is, try to go for a steal, Unpluckable will lower the chances of them getting a successful steal. It does not help with bump steals. So if you dribble into somebody's leg and you lose the ball, you're not going to get any sort of help from Unpluckable in that situation. You just got to be smarter with the ball and try to avoid moves where you find yourself dribbling into people's legs and stuff. And also when people do reach for the ball and you have Unpluckable on, it does not mean that 100% of the time they're not going to get the steal just because you have Unpluckable on. It just lowers the chances, and it does lower the chances a lot regardless of what people think or regardless of what people feel. It does lower the chances a lot from having it on Hall of Fame compared to not having it, or even having it on gold or silver or bronze. It does help a lot, but it's not going to keep people from stealing the ball from you every single time, especially if you got lockdowns guarding you. But it is a good badge, essential if you have enough playmaking badges to get it. Really would probably be even the first playmaking badge that I would put on for a big man after probably quick first step. But anyways, with all that being said, let's go on here to Volume Shooter. Second last badge right here. Volume Shooter goes into the B category. This is also a good badge for anybody who shoots a lot. I think it's better badge than Green Machine even for everybody who shoots a lot, because you don't even have to make your shots to get the boost from Volume Shooter. And with this badge I recommend putting it on silver. Gives a really good boost on silver. You don't need any higher than that. So yeah, Volume Shooter, good badge for anybody who shoots a lot. If you don't shoot a lot, not a very important badge, and there's probably a lot better investments for you. Next up we got the last badge right here. That's Worm. Worm goes into the C category. It could go into the D category, but I just don't want to put it in the same category as Box because I think it is slightly better. I think Worm is probably the most underrated badge in the game. Most people would probably put it in the F category or the E category. I completely disagree. I think just getting Worm on bronze is really good of an investment for any big man build that has at least, I'll say, 20 defense badges. Get Worm on bronze. It's not going to help you a lot with getting around defenders, but it will help you out a little bit, especially if you have the glass cleaning takeover. If you have the glass cleaning takeover alone, even without worm, you'll notice you'll get around defenders a lot of the time who are trying to box you out. But if you have the glass cleaning takeover along with bronze worm, you're going to get around them basically every single time. So this is a really good badge. Just put it on bronze, see if it helps you. If it doesn't help you, hey, what did it really hurt? You know, you could just take it off and put something else on. But anyways, that's going to be it for the best badges in NBA 2K21. This is the chart right here. This is a lot of badges. It looks a lot more filled in than I thought it would. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like. This video took a long time to make, so I really appreciate everyone who likes it. And also subscribe to my channel if you're newer on the road to 5K. We've been gaining about 50 to 100 subs a day, so we should be there within a couple days here. And also make sure you go follow me over on Twitch. I just hit 100 followers over there a few days ago, and I try to stream at least a few times a week, so make sure you go follow me over there. But anyways, that's gonna be it. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you got some help from this video. Alright, peace.